with you were the one of the first people I worked with inclusively way back when, and had a huge influence on me when I was starting out. So first of all, thank you for that.
Oh,
Um, Talk to me a little bit about your career, Kim, because you're a multidisciplinary artist. You're involved in theater, you're involved in dance, you do painting, you do writing, you do drawing, you do it all. But take me back to the very, very beginnings of the 70s, when all of this area of the arts became your world.
hmm. Well, it's funny. I was an unusual kid. I liked to do so many different things, and I was really athletic. And I decided to go ahead and pursue a career in dance. And when I went to do that, I went to the University of Utah.
Mm.
And there I didn't quite fit in. I didn't feel like my body type, what I was interested in. And somehow I didn't know who my people were. And I found a woman named Anne Riordan, and she was one of my teachers. And she had a company called the Sunrise Dance Company.
Mm.
And it was a dance company with people with disabilities.
Mm.
And she invited me in to be her intern. So this is in
Wow.
like 1977. And I just fell in love with her and I fell in love with the group. And it sort of expanded my world and understandings of people's
Yeah.
and connection and how art can be used in so many incredible ways.
Yeah. And Anne Riordan, wasn't she so ahead of her time for
She really was.
1977?
Yes.
You
She
know?
certainly was because it felt like the rest of the department was stuck in time in the ballet world. It was the first time they had a modern dance. And I had done everything from, ballet and jazz and modern dance, and I did singing in theater. But, they were sort of stuck in the ballet mode. And I certainly didn't have like the ballerina body. So in my lifetime, I was sort of dealing with that as being a very athletic mover. Like I would like to go across the floor with the men
Mm.
because I could really jump in the air and spring, but I always loved to improvise. I actually met Bobby McFerrin, played for our dance classes, which is so
Wow.
incredible. And I got to be buddies with him. And I remember we did an improv on the roof of the ballet studio,
Oh my God.
Bobby McFerrin and I. So it was just, I met some incredible people along the way.
And so you're working with Anne at that time. How long did that last? And then where did that lead you after that?
Well, it's sort of a funny story because I found that, and I was there for 3 years. I think I only worked with her for 2 years.
Mm.
And I was unhappy at school, so I decided to take off and go to Guatemala for a year.
As you do.
And I was a little bit like, oh, I don't fit in that dance world, although I was such a mover. And so I went to Guatemala and I met some Peace Corps friends. And funny story, they were doing in 1979, it was the year of the child.
Mm.
And they knew I was a dancer and they connected me to these other performing Peace Corps people. And they were doing a traveling circus in Guatemala for the Year of the Child. And they hired me to go all over Guatemala, dancing and singing and juggling and clowning, and to all these small villages. Sometimes mules were bringing our equipment, and um, it sort of drew me back in again. I kept getting drawn back into dance and performing. And there I met Rick, who was a small person, and they had hired him from the Barnum and Bailey Circus to be one of the performers.
Yeah.
And we just had a grand time, and he was so talented. And he became one of my buddies there, and he sort of opened up my eyes to also his worlds and what
Wow.
that was like for him traveling with Barnum and Bailey Circus on the trains and everything.
Mm.
Um, So I had a sort of a deeper understanding as him as a performer.
Mm.
And
I
then
mean,
after, yeah, go ahead.
you have always said to me, it's one of the things you've always echoed is
Mm,
that, the arts is for everyone.
yes.
You don't, you've never, you, Kim Epifano, have never distinguished any difference. It's
Mhm.
about the celebration of the soul, you know?
Absolutely. Humans. And for me, it wasn't about, it's about any age, any culture, any background. And because I was so in the educational world and I was able to work with little kids or high school, junior high professionals, it really expanded my web of my collaborators
Yeah.
all over the world, really. Um,
Mm.
and that has felt rich to me.
Yeah. And so then once you started working then with Rick and you learned all of those, developed that amazing relationship with him.
Mhm.
What were the greatest learnings from that experience for you?
Well, it was only with, I think it was the whole experience because we were going into these small villages and, you know, we were like the Beatles, like the kids were like chasing us all over town and they'd never seen anything like it. And,
Mm.
and I was very moved by the Guatemalan culture. And I
Okay.
stayed for a while and I learned to backstrap weave and got into the music. And so I was influenced by many different facets of that uh, traveling experience and performing experience.
Yeah.
Um, and traveling has probably been one of my greatest teachers also.
Mm.
You
And
know,
so then after traveling around Guatemala and doing all the little villages and all the little towns and all of that, then you obviously came back.
Well, then after a year, I was like, okay, I should go back now. And I had a friend from the University of Utah. She was quite a ballerina actually, but we became quite friendly, but she was sort of an odd duck too. And she ended up in Bisbee, Arizona. And she said, well, come join me and start a dance company in Bisbee, Arizona. I'm like, Bisbee, Arizona? Where the heck is that? And I don't know if people know, but it's sort of southern Arizona. It's up in the mountains. It's not far from the Mexican border. I think it's Nogales. Anyway, so I said, okay. So I came back and I went and met her, and we started the Biz Beat Movement Society.
Big
And
Movement Society, gorgeous ring to it, gorgeous ring to it.
and so I did that for about a year, and then I needed something more. I felt like I needed the city. So I drove a VW bus with my friend Jeannie McKenzie to San Francisco. And I landed in San Francisco. And there, my first job was working for afternoon arts program for youth.
Yeah,
And that, I was always teaching. And I was sort of still like, I don't know about the dance world. And when I was there, I found capoeira.
yeah.
And I felt like what was lacking soul-wise in the modern dance world, like it felt like it was missing something. Well, capoeira had that for me, like because I like to sing and play music, so playing the berimbau and singing and learning the martial art and all about the history. And I even went down to Brazil and competed down there in Rio, and uh, that sort of brought me into movement in another formula.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you think it freed you up a little bit, Kim?
you what me?
Do you think it freed you up a little bit?
It did. It definitely made me a more, I think, a better mover.
Mm,
Capoeira let me understand gravity and interaction and physicality in a different way.
mm,
Um, so yeah, that really fed me. And uh, from there, I was playing capoeira out in front of City Hall in San Francisco. And Nina Fichter and Chrissy Kiefer from the Wallflower Order, who is now the Dance Brigade,
uh-huh.
saw me playing capoeira. And they were a political women's dance company.
Yeah.
And they came up to me after and asked me if I danced. And I said, well, I do dance. And they said, well, I'd like to audition. I mean, it just came out of the blue. I thought, oh my gosh, here I go again. So again, it
Dance keeps
came
pulling
back.
you back, keeps
Yeah,
pulling you
pulling
back.
me back.
Yeah.
And so I went and auditioned and I got into the company and I really learned a lot from them. They were very inclusive in the work they did in workshops. Their workshops were for everybody.
Mm.
It was also every piece had a different thing about different politics in the world, many times with women's angle in it, sometimes not. I mean, we're doing pieces about Palestine back then.
Mm.
So I learned a lot from Chrissy and Nina, and they were also interdisciplinary. So we would dance, we would sing, we would drum, we would do theater, we'd use different huge puppets. Um, so also to survive during that time, I was applying to the California Arts Council because that's how I made money,
Yeah.
uh, along with being in professional companies. And I worked with something called the Neighborhood House, which was right next to where I lived in Potrero Hill. And it was an afternoon daycare center for seniors with disabilities. And it was all kinds of disabilities. And I was there for 3 years and I would combine, dancing, singing, drumming, speaking. I would find out what each client was drawn to,
That's
uh, you
so
know,
wonderful. Yeah.
and here's a little picture of some of it. I have a very old one. I don't know if you can see that,
Ah,
but that's in 1993. I mean, that's moving in time, up in time a little bit.
wow.
But and like Raymond loved to sing and play my accordion.
That's nice. And you said Raymond was nonverbal.
He was nonverbal, but
He
we
loved to
would
play music.
communicate in our own way.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
if I met everybody individually and knew what they like to do, then I could put it all together.
Yeah, yeah.
She loved to drum.
It's
You know,
beautiful.
see that.
Great
And
photos.
we make huge sets and we do big shows. And Remy Charlotte would come in and help me with some of the sets. And
So around that time, actually, around 93, was the beginnings also in the States and around the Bay Area of Axis. Well, Axis would have been in the
yes.
early stages at that point.
So from Dance Brigade, I met, that's when Axis was starting. And
Mm,
I met Axis and Judy Smith and got friendly with all those people. And I also then at that time met Sarah Shelton Mann. And I started taking Sarah's class, and then I got, because I love to improvise and I love the way she thought. And I started doing contact improvisation. And that really fed into who I was. And also doing capoeira, those two things really sort of fed each other for me.
absolutely.
Um, and then Contraband was also so political and unusual, and dance was for everybody.
Yeah,
It was very community based,
yeah,
and we were also very groundbreaking in combining dance, theater, music, and that always interested me.
yeah. Tell me about the because you've done so many incredible things, Kim. Talk to me a little bit about when you've done the work with Axis, when you've worked specifically with inclusive dance companies or teachings.
Well, so with Axis, how I went to Axis was I had found a book by Michael Bernard Loggins, and there's a place called Creativity Explored. Oh my gosh, it's so fantastic. It's a program for artists with mostly developmentally disabled disabilities. And it's been going for years and years and years in the mission, and it's visual arts.
Mm,
And there's a huge, big studio, like a barn, and they have the best galleries. And I used to go there every year and meet the artists and maybe buy some art. Well, I saw Michael's book, Fears of Your Life, and I was going back to get my MFA, and I thought, boy, Fears of Your Life, this is awfully timely. And his drawing, he would draw these incredible characters and write very direct, but very sometimes funny,
mm,
about his fears or very seriously just for even riding the bus. And I thought, well, maybe I can make this into a piece. So I thought that would be a beautiful mix because I knew Axis. Well, if, I reached out to them to see if they wanted to be the dance company included. And
Mm.
then I worked with my friend Mike Stasic, who's an amazing visual artist, and he came and made the huge white puppets that were in the play. So that was one thing that I explored with them. So it's very visual. There was a text. We use Michael's book throughout, and I can show you again. I don't know if the pictures are fun or not, but like there was all these visuals, and there was an actor in there that
Yeah.
sort of told the story. And
Okay.
these were the big white puppets, and the actors got in and out of those. And
Right.
Michael would write all over the shoes for the set. And the set was all interactive where the audience would come and draw, put up all these Velcroed pieces of Michael's things on the sets.
Mm.
And
Amazing.
it was quite a beautiful business. And I did it for my thesis, and then Yerba Buena Center for the Arts commissioned it, and we put it up at Yerba Buena Center for the Arts the following year. This
Mm.
is one, I love this one, Katie Faulkner and Judy.
Judy. Yeah.
So, and it just was it was very successful. People really were drawn to it.
Mm.
Everybody came to see. It wasn't just the dance world. So I think we sort of crossed some boundaries then.
That's good.
So that was Fears of Your
Mm.
Life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And so then, so that would have been the early 90s. And of course,
yes.
then, Kim, you've been involved in dance and multidisciplinary work for many, many, many years. I mean, you're very well known in
Mm,
the States and San
mm,
Francisco and the Bay Area, you know.
mm.
And talk to me then about the work that you did then specifically in San Francisco around your own companies that you set up yourself.
So at the same time, so then I started doing my own thing. I was in Dance Brigade, I was in Contraband, they overlapped. And then I say with Contraband, I was touring. We were touring so much.
Uh,
And after a while, I started getting into my own work,
mhm.
just around some of the own things in my own family, around my own stories. And then I decided I wanted to pursue doing my own kind of company. And I wanted to stay home more.
Yeah.
So I was making different pieces along the way, and I decided to start something called San Francisco Trolley Dances. And it started in San Diego by my cousin Gene Isaacs. And I decided San Francisco was a place to have something like that because of the all those antique trains that go up and down the F line on Market Street.
Uh-huh.
So romantic. I thought, and it should be free and it should be for everybody and it's got to be accessible, all the sites and the train stops. So I went for it and did it for 20 years and I wanted all kinds of groups, not just modern dance. I wanted aerial, Antoine Hunter's Urban Jazz Dance Company did a few sites. He's from Deaf Dance Company. And
And you worked with him quite a lot.
I did too. So along the path, somebody had introduced me to Antoine to be a dancer. And Antoine was many, many pieces, and also a woman he worked with, Zana. Uh, and a lot of times people wouldn't necessarily hire a deaf dancer
Mm.
because they didn't know how to communicate. And so I don't do sign language. I mean, I know a few words, but I don't know, I just met Antoine and we sort of really liked each other and we were communicating in our own way.
Mm.
So I worked with him a long, long time in many pieces, and I just had to figure out what would work for both of us.
Yeah.
And Zana and how I would always have to remember I have to, show Antoine 1, 2, 3, we're going now,
Yeah.
or what was the communication, and or if things came up with other dancers, how was I communicating or helping Antoine with them if something came up to make sure everybody was communicating.
Yeah.
um,
How challenging was that?
there was moments that was hard and
Yeah.
I've learned a lot. by doing that. And then Antoine wanted to start, like he learned from being in trolley dance. He says, well, I want to start an international deaf dance festival.
Oh,
And I was his fiscal sponsor then. And I said, well, hell, let's go for it. So I helped him get that started the first year and in the second year. And then he's just kept going. And he's on his, like, I don't know, 14th, 15th year. And
good.
so he got going on all his own things.
Yeah.
Um, so let's see what else.
So then, okay, so then you were doing that. I mean, God, you've been doing trolley dances for 20 years. So that
Yeah.
had all its own brilliant, beautiful, unique experiences. And you met so many people and so many. What were the highlights? What have been the highlights of trolley dances for you?
Well, well, being
Mhm.
in so many incredible places in the city. I
Yeah.
mean, meeting all the people at Muni, working with the transportation system, I
Mm,
felt like sort of broadened my horizon of community and working with people and artistry and how do we take it to more of the general public? Who rides Muni, right?
yeah.
So how do we reach out to those people and say, here, come enjoy this incredible art along this Muni line? So that really affected me. And also, I would go into the neighborhoods. I would just walk the neighborhoods all over San Francisco. I mean, if my shoes could talk, I always say. So I met a lot of wonderful people that way, and also incredible places I would have never gone to. And sort of one of my metaphors are like each site is so unto itself and
Yeah.
so special. And I feel like people are their own sites.
Well, that's what I was about to get into, actually. I was just about to ask you because one of the other most important things to you is site-specific work.
Yes.
And that's one of your roots, I find, or I feel for you,
Mhm.
because it's been a constant throughout your career. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I started going down to San Diego doing a lot. And before that, with Contraband,
Mm,
we were doing all these. We went to a housing project in the Fillmore, and it was like an abandoned housing project. And it was called Religare. And we went in and we took it over. And everybody would come to us, and they had also another one in the pit in Valencia Street. And so I really got involved with site specific work with them, and that was a great lesson in exploring the site and the information that comes from being there, whether it's history, it's architecture, it's politics of what's happened there.
mm,
So that was, I gained a lot of information there. But also with Dance Brigade, there we were out in the front of the federal building doing a protest dressed in men's suits in a piece called Quental Pro, like out on the streets, protesting with dance.
mm.
So it was coming from all angles, or in Guatemala, there where I was out in the fields, doing a show. So anything can happen anywhere, um, at any moment, it's everywhere.
And some of the and some of the strongest thread lines of you have been art and making a political statement or doing a political movement or a cause, whether
Hmm.
it's women's rights or something else or whatever, but they're very, very entwined in your
Yes.
career. They're
That's
very
true.
entwined in your career. And
Mhm.
also then, as you say, the site specific pieces, because then it gives you so much more freedom of where you can do what you want to do and where you want to do it and the
Hmm.
statements you want to make.
Hmm. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
during COVID, it really sort of, we did an online version, and that was very successful because people then could still watch, even though, and all the dancers were on site and everybody was in mass. That was a big thing, but we pulled it off. It was actually a really good movie. I love that movie we made that year. People love that. But I think also going back to my work and who I work with, Oh, then I came to work with Croí Glan
With Glan, you did. You came to work
in
with us. Yeah,
Ireland. And
yeah,
that's when I met, well, I actually met you here first
you
because we
did. Well,
some
no, you met me actually in San Fran first for like
right,
a day, for like one day.
because we
Then you
met there.
came to Ireland and met me. And you were very excited because you got to pull an Irish pint in an Irish bar.
So when we went, we invested with you and Char, we investigated the information about how to pour a pint. Yes, we
It's
did.
true. It's true.
That was
And how
fun.
did you find, Kim, how did you find that experience of working with an inclusive dance company in Ireland at that time? Because
Oh,
it
I
probably
loved it.
quite different to now in comparison to then.
Well, number one, you were so willing to try anything. And also, you were very theatrical.
Mm.
Uh, and you also like to use your voice. So I found you so easy to work with. And Tara as well could do a lot of things.
Mhm.
So I really enjoyed it. And we were in that beautiful studio.
Yeah, down in West Cork, down in on Sanctor.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then we got to room together. So then we really got to know each other. So I really enjoyed doing that. It was just a duet, and I always felt like when I left that piece, I could have done more, because you only have
And
a certain
you
amount of
never remember this, but I reminded you when you came to work with IDC, but you wanted to do about a piece about old Ireland and
time.
the leprechauns, etc., and you came to Cork, and I was like, Kim, that's not going to work in Ireland.
Now I don't remember the leprechaun thing,
Yeah, well, you were
but
like, we were to do a piece about old Ireland, shall we say? And I was going, that's not going to work in Ireland because Irish people will just be like, no. But I was going, that will work in America, but that won't work in Ireland. So God bless you. You were pivoting big style and you created for myself and Tara the most beautiful, playful, fun duet
hmm,
ever. It's
hmm,
it's it's my it's my favorite piece that I've been in, and I've done a lot of different pieces because
yeah.
it's the one that felt the most like me.
Hmm.
It
Well, I
really,
like to work with the performer.
yeah,
A lot of times people, in the dance world, it's all this, audition, whoever's got the best technique and da da da. And of course there's that. But I feel if somebody's a performer, that you just are organically.
yeah,
And sometimes people can learn it. I mean, Jules Beckman, who I used to work with in Contraband, he was one of the musicians. He wasn't a dancer, but boy, could he move. He
yeah.
was amazing.
And I remember actually, because I mean, when myself and Tara co-founded Glan, I
Yeah.
had already set up Wheels in Motion, but it was myself and two friends, Patrick
Uh,
and Denise, who
yeah.
was very much, we were just developing it ourselves. And that was 1990, geez, 94, 95. So we were just kind of figuring it out as we went along. But I remember you got me to stand on the stage and I opened the piece and
Yes.
got me to stand there and look out to the audience and pretty much eyeball the audience for a good 5 minutes. And you went, you're going to command this stage very quickly. I was like, well, how am I going to do that? And you went, well, what you doing it, look. And then I did. And that was such an important lesson, you know. It was
Mhm.
such an important lesson that,
Mhm.
you got to own it.
You got to own it.
You got to own it. You really, really do.
Mhm.
You got to own it.
And it's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older now, I mean, I still like to perform, but I have to think before I jump over there a little more
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah.
But
Well, me too.
it evolves too as you get older. Like, what is performance now for
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. And that's what I
I
meant
even
when I
like to
said,
choreograph
yeah.
people.
And that's what I was going to say to you about when you worked with Glan with us in 2006. Well, no, it wasn't. It wasn't 2006. It was more like 2008, 2009 when you worked with us.
Mhm.
And how does inclusive work feel now in comparison to that time?
Oh, well, there's so much more going on. I feel like there's much more awareness. There's more people doing it and dancing in companies and well, where I am for sure, where you are, I mean, IDC has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Coming to you all and see what you're doing there was really inspiring.
Yeah.
Teaching I just taught a 4-day workshop in Cork with Rhona at IDC, and that was wonderful. And the Firkin Crane is such a cool building.
That's the
So
best.
I have like a lot of joy and like positivity that things are changing. You probably even know deeper than me
I
what's.
think I feel that it's just people are understanding it more, and people have much more awareness, and
Mhm,
there's much more acceptance that the arts is genuinely for everybody and no one should be excluded, and everybody can bring something to the table,
mhm,
and people really want to bring something to the table, and they want their voices to be heard in whatever way, shape, or form that takes for them.
mhm,
So I think it's just getting better, bigger, and bolder now, and it's
mhm.
being so much more led by people with disabilities themselves now.
Yes.
I mean, back in the day, when I started, there wasn't really anybody doing uh, leading who had a disability. It was very rare. And now
Mhm,
there's loads of fantastic people leading, many, 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 which is great. And there's lots more coming up through the ranks now, which is outstanding. So
yeah.
representation is so important in every way, shape, or form, whether it's disability or some other marginalized group. It's just vitally important. So,
Mhm.
Kim, what next?
Did we talk about everything?
What are you up to? Tell me.
Um, well, before I go there, there's one other thing I wanted to tell about.
Okay, go on. Tell me.
Because of my wide web of collaborators, I
Mm.
used to go to Telluride, Colorado every year to work with a group called the Mud Butt Mystery Theater Troupe.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes, yes,
it
yes.
was just the kids were all
Mm.
kids were welcome, if a kid had a disability or not, but the kids really helped us make the show, and it was interdisciplinary and it got really popular, and the kids were great improvisers and they learned contact and they were very accepting of each other, and eventually that turned into going internationally. For 2 weeks every year, we would take a group of young teenagers from the United States and we'd go somewhere in the world, Vietnam, Ethiopia, Turkey. I mean, through that, I also went so many places. And in 2 weeks, in two languages, we would make a show in a village, in a pagoda or in an art school or in a regular school. And that was quite a precious 20 years,
Mm.
not only to see the amazing places we were going,
Mm.
but to see the integration of the students. And because we never knew what we would encounter. You're in
Mm.
another language, you're in another culture, there could be people with and without disabilities, but how our students from the United States and then their students were also welcoming and interested, and it really changed all of our lives. We learned so much about the world and making art,
Yeah.
and how art and education also is such a key to change. I
Mm.
really think it's in the youth. I still teach at Bessie Carmichael School in the Soma in San Francisco. I've been a guest and artist there for like, I don't know, almost 15 years. I go in for 3 months every year and
Yeah.
go into the second grade class and do storytelling, dance, theater, and visual arts. And I feel like that's where we have to begin these things
Well,
with
you're actually right.
young people.
You hit a couple of very important points. First of all, kids always lead. Kids always lead, and it doesn't matter who they are, what language they're speaking. If there's some kind of play or interaction going, they've a natural curiosity about each other. So kids will lead and teach all the time,
Hmm.
all the time.
And that they have to start learning about these other things when you're younger,
Yeah,
because then you're just in it and it's a
yeah.
part of you.
It's part of
Um,
the essence of who you are. It's true. It's part of your story from a very, very young age. And you're right. Education is also the key. you know?
And those classrooms that I'm in, everybody, if somebody has a disability, they're in there. They don't separate the classes out. So the kids are really learning to be with each other.
Yeah.
And this one little boy one day in my story who was autistic, everybody participates, and he got up there, and the class was all watching. They sort of perform. It's sort of not really performing. They sort of echo me in the
Yeah.
characters,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they'd never really seen him speak before. Well, he got up there as the bird, and he had a little mask on, and I started doing the lines, and oh my God, he started speaking his own language. And the teacher and the kids and I were just like, it was so beautiful and so fascinating, so heartwarming. And he was so into it as the character. I was like, that was amazing. And how the kids were so supported him.
Yeah.
So there's like little moments like that,
Yeah.
you know.
How the kids supported him and how he taught everybody in the room something really important.
Yeah, yeah.
And this
Well,
lovely symbiotic relationship, you know. Um,
absolutely.
Kim, okay,
So what am I doing now?
I'm going to repeat the question.
So,
So what next, Kim Epifano?
uh,
Besides the fact that you're going to be coming over to do more work with IDC,
oh,
obviously.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still love making work. It was funny because just recently I took a 3 month sabbatical,
Yeah.
and I decided, it was time to let Trolley go. I was trying to go, what do I need now? My soul and my body. I feel like I've done so much in my life. I've never taken a break. How do I rejuvenate? How do I keep my creative juices working? Because I want to keep making work. I want to keep teaching. So I took a
Okay.
moment,
Okay. So
and I'm gonna.
talk to me a little bit about wrapping up Trolley.
So trolley dances, it just felt like it was time. I think, the art world got, more and more compacted, trying to make room for new people coming in. Did I want to keep going all over the city all the time and doing all that? Did I want to keep raising the money? It wasn't only for trolley dances. It was I'd running my company, Epiphany Dance Theater, for 35 years almost. So I was just ready for a change. I think
Yeah.
after COVID and everything got online, I'm such a people person. I really like to be with people as I'm working, and I was like, okay, it was time. It was just sort of a big epiphany that it was
Yeah.
time to shift. So, anyways, I did that. I took a little break, and now I'm back to teaching workshops. I'm going to Denver to teach a contact workshop and Telluride, Colorado. I'm going back to Italy. I want to do some work there. Um,
You're doing lots more work in Europe, which is really cool.
yes. So I'm really interested to keep exploring that. I want to do some work in Florence. I'm seeing what's going on in Rome, and also other countries. I have some friends in Spain I might be working with. So, and I want to, maybe I'll get some commissions to make some more work. I'm trying to stay up and positive. I mean, it was also very emotional,
Yeah, I bet.
to shift. It's been scary,
Yeah.
but uh, I'm
Yeah.
67 years old, and I'm like, oh, this is the time.
Yeah. And you know what? Fair dues to you for shaking it up, you know? Because you
Yeah.
could have just said, you know what, I'm here. This is lovely. This is what I know. I'm not gonna rock the boat now. It's grand. It's all good. But you being you, and I know you so well that I knew that, you were gonna shake it up because you gotta keep growing and developing and finding new tribes and new people and new experiences and new collaborations.
And having some space and some breath, and how does that, when you don't have so much time, how does that affect the art you're making,
Yeah.
or even how you make the art? So now I feel like I have some more room and I can re-drop in
Yeah.
and see where that
Yeah.
leads
And
me.
it's so funny because when I mean you and I we obviously don't get to physically see each other that often.
Mm-mm.
Um, but we've had a friendship that's nearly spanning 20 years, and very strong, lovely
Mhm.
to be able to say. But even the difference in the way, even in the difference in your work to me and how you work with people, still
Mhm.
for me resonates from when I worked with you with Croí. That when you
Mhm.
came over with IDC, it was,
Mhm.
I mean, you had more layers to it, obviously, but it's still the warmness and the loveliness of you, Kim. It's you bring it. It's you bring it all the time, all the time.
Thank
Um,
you.
so I'm very excited about to see what you get up to next. No doubt you could end up in some country, in some little village with some group of little cool people going, "This is what I'm up to now." I'm like,
Well,
great.
I feel like I've been so fruitful in my life. I mean, and even in San Francisco, Yerba Buena Center for the Arts was sort of my home theater.
Yeah.
That's where I did my last show last year, or, when we were at Z Space or Theater Arto. So I've gone from the very large to the very small, intimate. And yeah,
And
I,
isn't it funny? So what would you say to that young girl who was like wanting to dance, but felt she wasn't the right fit and whatever, and kept on being pulled out of dance, but really being pulled back into it. Like, what would you say to her now? And then for those
uh,
who are feeling that way, who might be
well,
listening.
I think the thing about a performer is we have a lot of doubt in ourselves.
Mhm.
I think that's one thing that comes up. I mean, most people, are always dealing with that, oh gosh, I'm not really good at that. Like your impersonator syndrome, or, somebody tells you no once and go cry in a corner or whatever. So I think it's that whole thing of don't get up, give up.
Yeah,
I'm strong. I'm got Italian both sides of me. I can, go for it. I can take a stance. I believe in what I believe in, but I also feel like I was pliable
yeah, very
and I
important.
could shape, sort of a shapeshifter when I needed to.
Yeah,
And it wasn't all easy. Some of it was incredibly hard. I think when you put yourself out there in other communities that you're not a part of, you also can be a target for what's not okay
yeah,
or something you don't understand. And
yeah,
then how do you process that
mm,
to learn,
yeah.
which is a big part of it.
Yeah, but it's a steep learning curve, though. And I think it's really important, and it's something that I'm constantly saying, but it's something that I've learned the hard way, that you find your tribe. You got to find people who are like-minded. You
Mhm.
got to be working with people who are on a similar wavelength to yourself.
And if they're not, though, that is also the learning.
Yeah, oh yeah,
So
huge.
when it is different, how do you still engage
Yeah,
and learn and understand the differences?
yeah,
So that's been an important lesson. And sometimes it might not work. And what we were talking about as a teacher, when you go to teach a workshop, you've got the whole thing worked out what you're going to do, and you're in there and you go to yourself, well, that's not working.
let's try this little bag
Okay,
of
well,
tricks.
maybe I'll change that direction now very seamlessly. So it's not being afraid to fail
Yeah,
and then being able to go, that's okay. And you change that direction because it's not going to be perfect all the time, or not everything's going to see, who's in the room. You never know who's going to show up for a workshop.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean,
You
if
again,
in a perfect world, you'd have all that information, you know,
yeah.
that would be best practice inclusive dance wise,
Mhm.
It doesn't always happen though. And so
No.
then you have to have your bag of tricks,
Yeah.
your
Or you
bag of
go
tricks.
you go to touch somebody and you don't know them. Like touching these days is, there's in the old days we weren't going, can we touch you before you do contact improvisation? Or, now I feel like there's a whole other level of sensitivity and understanding of, now we're going to touch in this way. Is everybody okay with that? Or
And if
even
you're not, and say it and name it, and that's okay too.
say it and name it. And even like working with you, Rhona, what are you up for that day when we go into the studio?
Yeah.
It might be a day where you're not feeling like something, and you've been very good to share that and
Yeah.
have people understand that. Or when we go around in the circle, everybody doing a check-in about what are people's needs,
Mm,
or what their background is.
yeah. Yeah, I think all of the, but I think that's huge learning out. For me, that took time. That took time and it took experience and there's, you know, the best of the best of practitioners, inclusive practice wise now. That's kind of their MO really. That's where they work from, that's
Mm-hmm.
where they work from. Kim,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna open things up.
Oh,
I'm
good.
going to leave people ask questions.
Oh,
And let's see who says what, or maybe Jill just have a
I
comment.
gotta put on my glasses now so I can see who it is.
Okay.